Hi everyone, hope you all fine. So today I'm going to tell you about large sample test. So large sample test, we all know that it depends on samples. So large sample test should be greater than, that means sample size should be greater than 30. If the sample size is greater than 30, we call it as a large sample. Okay, so in large sample, we are going to learn two types, that is attributes and variables. Okay, so in attributes we are having proportion, test for single proportion. Next, second one is test for difference of proportion. Okay, so in this video we will learn about test for single proportion. Okay, so test for single proportion. So remember that when you are going to test any single proportion, if it comes, that means if the word single comes, you are going to test between one sample and population. Okay, when it comes సింగిల్, సో సింగిల్ ప్రపోర్షన్ వచ్చింది అంటే మీరు శాంపుల్కి పాపులేషన్కి మధ్యలో టెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నట్టు. ఓకేనా? యా, సో వాట్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు రైట్ ఈస్ ఫస్ట్ let x is the number of success in an independent trials with constant probability p. We all know that when we are having constant probability, it follows binomial distribution. Okay, so then the success is given by p equals to x by n. Okay, p equals to x by n. We all know that probability formula is number of favorable by total number of observations. Okay, so whenever the word constant probability, it comes under binomial distribution. Okay, so first we are going to write null hypothesis. Before that we have to know what is mean and what is variance. So expectation of x is nothing but mean. So in binomial distribution the mean value is np and v of x means variance. The variance value is npq. Okay, so first we have to write null hypothesis. So null hypothesis in the sense, we all know that when we are going to test any procedure, testing of hypothesis, we have to follow some steps. That is nothing but first is null hypothesis and the second is alternative hypothesis, level of significance, test statistic, and next is conclusion. So we have to follow those 5 steps. So in that the first step is null hypothesis. What we have to write in null hypothesis is there is no significance difference between sample proportion and population proportion. Okay, sample proportion and population proportion. As I told you that when the word single comes, you have to test in between sample proportion and population proportion. Okay, so that is H naught such that small p equals to capital P. That means sample proportion equals to population proportion. So there is no significance difference, means there is no difference between those two. Its meaning. Okay. Next, alternative hypothesis. Alternative. Now the next step is alternative hypothesis. So what is alternative hypothesis? Controversy for null hypothesis. There is no, we have taken in null hypothesis. Here what we have to write is there is a significance. That means there is a difference. Okay. So there is a significance difference between, there is a significance difference between sample proportion and population proportion. Okay, that means H1 such that, we all know that alternative hypothesis is denoted with H1. H1 such that small p equals to capital P, that means sample proportion is not equals to population proportion. Here what we said, there is a difference. That means it may be greater than or less than. Okay, these three conditions we will get in alternative hypothesis. Next what? Next step is level of significance. So the next step is level of significance. Level of significance. So level of significance. In level of significance, what we decide is, we decide at which at which level of significance we have to test. We have to compare the calculated value. So mostly we test at 5% level or 1% level, like that. Or we can say that 95% or else 99%. So what is level of significance? To fix the level of significance, to fix the level of significance for the given value. If they don't give any value, you can take at 5%. Mostly we consider at 5%. That means 95%. If they give particular percent level of significance, you have to test at that level of significance. Okay. And the next is test statistic. Test statistic is nothing but it is a formula. We can say that it is a formula. Test statistic means, but by using which formula we have to test. Okay. So under null hypothesis, the test statistic is given by, so as we know that large sample always follows normal distribution. So that's why the formula is denoted as Z equals to, so what it is? It is a proportion of small p minus capital P by S by root n. Okay. So as square root of p cube by n. Okay. So Z equals to small p minus capital P by square root of p cube by n. So it follows normal distribution with mean 0 and variance 1. Okay. So this is the formula for single proportion. Okay. Yeah. Next is conclusion. So next is what? Conclusion. So if Z calculated value less than Z table, if Z calculated value less than Z table, so we accept null hypothesis. We accept what? Null hypothesis. Otherwise, what we do? Otherwise, we reject null hypothesis. That means we are going to accept what? Alternative hypothesis. Okay, now? So, this is the test procedure for single proportion. Okay, so don't forget, when you are going to test single proportion, so you have to take difference between sample and population. You have to compare sample and population. Okay, so hope you all understand. Okay, so if you are newly watching my channel, subscribe to my channel, share with your friends, and also don't forget to like. Thank you. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.